dressed up well. It's really pretty here, and so good to be here.
Can I ask you, can money buy you happiness?
I'm sure it can help, but it certainly shouldn't be that important in life. I don't think it's having really good friends around you, doing things that you're satisfied with in your life. That's where you're going to get your real happiness. But obviously, if your family are ill and you need to move quickly, I'm told in Canada it's often not easy. So maybe money can help on occasions. But
I mean, you've led in so. I mean, you've done so much.
Well, I've never been interested in money per se. I mean, I've been interested in creating things I can be proud of, and obviously, I need them to be successful, so I can, got 60,000 people working for us. So I can pay their salaries and make sure that they stay in a job, and so that we can challenge ourselves in other areas. But my life now is much more spent on using the fact that I'm quite well known around the world, the fact that I've got resources to now tackle some of the more intractable problems of the world, and that's where I'm spending more of my time, and then leaving other people at Virgin up to running the day-to-day running of the companies.
There's so many branches of what you're involved in right now too, and politically we're all going through what they call a global economic crisis, which as an entrepreneur has got to give you some concern. Governments seem to be wanting to spend their way out of it with tax dollars, and governments seem to want to get involved in business now. Is that the best way to go as a businessman yourself, do you think?
Well, first of all, I mean, much more important, I think, than the global economic crisis is what's happened in Washington in the last week. One of the first things that President Obama did was to abolish torturing people. I mean, my God, how we could have gone to war against other people who torture people, but continue to torture people ourselves. So thank God we're now going back to trying to get the moral high ground. Yesterday, he announces that he's going to tackle global warming head on. How could America have done nothing about that the last 8 years, and in fact set us backwards? Those two statements are, I think, incredibly important in getting the world back on track.
But you were a skeptic at one time, and you're not anymore when it comes to global warming. So
no,
part of the problem.
I was, 8 years ago, I suspect it was convenient for me as an airline owner and a spaceship owner and a train owner not to, to be a skeptic. But I've met Al Gore. I've met some fascinating people, Tim Flannery, James Lovelock, a lot of environmentalists. I've looked at the facts, and we've got to do something about it. And even putting a global warming on one side, we're running out of oil. We're running out of the dirty fuels. So we've got to actually move over to clean fuels and not become reliant on the dwindling resources that we've got. So we're putting 100% of all the profits we make from our dirty businesses into trying to develop clean fuels, and hopefully we can have some successes over the next 2 or 3 years.
You're also giving back to...
I'm so sorry, but we forgot about the financial crisis.
Yes, I don't know if you've ever worked for anyone. You've always worked for yourself, haven't you? Or with people?
Yeah, I mean, I left school at 15, and I've been working, for myself or with people for ever since. I've never actually worked for somebody else as such, but quite extreme responsibility, I think, comes for those entrepreneurs who are lucky enough to be successful, get quite considerable wealth in their pockets. That you've got the responsibility of making sure you utilize it well and constructively, and don't waste it.
And helping people understand perhaps how you got your successes in life, despite being dyslexic and other things. I guess fear is something that's not really part of your vocabulary. Have I got that right? I mean, you just get things done.
I've been fearful on many occasions, particularly because I'm an adventurer as well as an entrepreneur, and I've taken some fairly extreme risks in my life, and have had to face fear head on a number of occasions, and learned that the only way of dealing with fear is to battle to try to survive whatever situation you've got yourself into. Give it everything to survive, and if hopefully you do, and if you don't, at least you've done everything you can to make sure you're still around. And I was fortunate to be able to get out of some pretty difficult fixes in my life, whether it was personal adventure fixes with balloons going into oceans, or financial crises, which every businessman who builds a business from scratch often find themselves in.
Do you think that's what the future of Virgin Galactic might be, and the tourism dollars going into this uncertain economic times, that people will put out those kinds of dollars to fly into space? Take me, by the way, if I just don't have the money.
Look, I think over the next 2 years, whilst we're finishing building the spaceships and the motherships, people are obviously going to be tight on money, and it would not be the best time to launch a spaceship company. But I think most people want to go into space, and if we can get the price down to a more affordable level, I think we'll find, over the next 2 decades, tens of thousands of people would love to experience space travel. And it's just the beginning of a really exciting new era. I think one's got to dream. We will be able to let people experience suborbital space flights in time, orbital space flights, and maybe even one day, start sending people into the depths of space, and even maybe whisking people across Earth, for say between Montreal and Sydney, and in an hour and a half, which I think may be possible using the technology we're developing.
Last question before we let you get back to the sunshine and the warmth of the sand. Is there anything you want? Is there anything you don't have? Is there something you're looking for right now?
Well, I've set myself 3 sort of fairly major tasks on the social front. When I say set myself, we've launched three major projects. One is an organisation called the Elders, which is headed up by Nelson Mandela. It's got 12 incredible individuals with tremendous moral authority, everybody from Archbishop Tutu to Kofi Annan to President Carter, and their task is to try to resolve conflicts in the world. And there's no need for there to be conflicts again in this world, and we've got to try to jump on conflicts as and when they happen, and they're already doing a magnificent job. Then we've got another project which is a Centre for Disease Control in Africa, where we're trying to coordinate the wonderful organisations that are trying to tackle disease in Africa. And then finally, we're setting up a global war room against carbon being the enemy, and trying to coordinate all the ideas that are out there, so that governments can better tackle this invisible enemy, carbon, which ultimately could destroy the world.
Good links to all of this stuff at cjad.com on my page. It's been a pleasure. I wish I had hours to speak to you, because there's so much to talk to you about, and I appreciate the time, and have a safe journey home.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. It's nice to have some interesting questions, so thanks very much. Cheers. Thank you.